Welcome to From the Be-All End. And yes, I know it's Sunday when you're listening to us, or it might be Monday before the game, but it's all out of kilt, isn't it, Easter weekend? No one really knows what day it is properly. Friday feels like Saturday, Saturday feels like Sunday. It's all over the place. But what really matters is we're not going a whole weekend not talking about Burnley's win at Watford, an incident-packed win at Watford, and we're not going to not build up to the big game of the season against Sheffield United at home when the Clarets can book their place back in the Premier League with a victory. I'm Simon Evans, joined by Chris Bowden, Darren Bentley, and the man who's presented you for the last couple of episodes, Paul Woodhouse. Just to clarify on Paul Woodhouse as presenter, I had a very regular listener get in touch who said to me that they really enjoyed Woody being the presenter because they felt it brought a more whimsical feel to the podcast.
that was obviously my mother, yeah.
Not
that she uses the word whimsical.
but they missed his frank contributions to the analysis, in particular the ability to describe things as bollocks. So we thought we'd better put Woody back in that crucial midfield pivot role. Bollocking people, yeah.
Well, that's obviously a bollocks comment, isn't it?
So let's get down to business. It was an incident-packed game at Watford. Came out of it largely unscathed and with 3 big points, which we needed given the results that happened later in the day. Chris, the team we were playing against, it was never going to be a classic example of flowing football either way, was it? But we got the job done.
Never in doubt, was it? I think I said in the preview podcast that to Watford it's that positive chaos the way they play, and it is, and they were very positive, they were very direct. They threw it down our throats, and to be fair, we struggled in the first half, and probably should have been 2 goals behind, But it's a miracle save, isn't it? Trafford's save, touching that onto the post. It's absolutely sensational, save of the season stuff. And then within a second, we've clawed a goal back. And I wouldn't say out of nowhere because we've had little sniffs before then, and we had with more shots than them first half, with more possession, with more passes, and with more clear opportunities. But the feel of the game was that they were probably a bit. They probably edged it in that first half. And then, second half, we come out and control the game, get the equaliser, and they do a Stockport 94 on them, don't they? And just absolutely blew their minds. It's 2 ludicrous sendings off. Could have been more. Was it the aptly named loser? Should have been sent off, I think. And it just reminded me of Danny Bergada's lot. Whether they were too pumped up or whatever it was, but they just, lost their heads. And I thought Burnley, we'd all like to see them kill it off with a third. And to be fair, they carved them open a couple of times. I thought they went about it well, sort of starving them of the ball, trying to be patient and create that opportunity. And if you don't kill them off, you get a nervy final 5 minutes, which is what we have.
Yeah, I must admit, I was getting a bit wound up by some of our possession football against 9 men. I thought, and afterwards I thought, was I being overly harsh there? Because I know you disagree, Chris, and you thought we were managing the game very well. But I just thought when we went into the corners a couple of times, there were openings for crosses that we didn't take, and we then turned around and recycled the ball again for another roundabout. And I was thinking, this can come back to bite you, especially when the crowd start all laying. You're only one up, and it only takes that one shot, and he will wind me up. And I had to look back through my timeline on X afterwards, and I wasn't the only one who was feeling that way, but maybe that's just nerves that gets to us. But Woody, do you think we managed it well, or were we taking the piss a bit there?
It was a weird game, wasn't it? It was a weird afternoon. We started off, we were jittery, we were nervy. Marcus Edwards was woeful for the first 30. He was overhitting passes. He were sending extra sets to people's feet when we've seen him play perfect passes, throughout his 10 years so far. The ref didn't have a clue. We didn't have a clue. Watford were very, very, very direct and good value for money. They were like Chris was saying, they were putting it up as a little bit, and barring certain heroics from the young boy Trafford, we'd have been 2 or 3 down against the Premier League opposition. They'd have been out of sight the way we were playing. But the transition from that little tiny fingertip worldie, and I don't care how many times you watch that on slow motion or whatever, my word, how he's gotten to that with any part of his hand is quite simply astonishing. But the way we kind of switched that round and scored within the next 30 seconds, and that goal is as Premier League class as you're ever likely to see. It was roll it out to CJ, whip it over to Jadon Anthony, and then, like Daz said, that ghosting run from Fleming just to nod it in was exquisite. It was a fantastic goal. Arguably one of the better ones of the season. But there were other little glimpses of absolute class and quality that shone out, like that challenge towards the death from CJ Egan-Riley to stop that sure-fired one-on-one. Not going to say it was definitely a goal, because the way Trafford was playing, he probably would have saved it. But, there were just glimpses that proved that we had the quality, that we had more than enough to be able to get certain things done. And what the bloody hell Watford were doing, how they lost the plot from absolutely nowhere, was absolutely fantastic to see. I love that kind of shit. I really do. I love it when sides just completely lose their minds. And like Chris said, how they didn't manage to find the way down to 8 is beyond me. But that passing it around at the back and whatnot, you think about what we've got at stake on Monday as well, and considering we haven't conceded 2 all season, it's like you're going to put money on us not to concede 2 against 9 men, even though, yes, it got a little bit more nervy than it should have been towards the latter stages.
It did, but you're right. I think you're both right in saying that Watford completely lost their edge. I think Tom cleverly admitted as such afterwards, doesn't he? He just sort of summed it up pretty well in his comments. But the danger is that the other team lose their heads as well in that situation, and then punches start flying and things go really silly. And the refs, when they've sent 2 off, there's a strange sort of weird football pressure on the ref to try and even it up a little bit somehow. And I think the only thing we saw where we gave any kind of excuse to do that, in fact, that's probably overstated it. I think the Sarmiento booking was him going, you know what, I'm just going to even things up a little bit here, because he's made a bit of a meal of it, and we'll give them both yellows. But he could have easily been could easily been another red card and nothing at all for Sarmiento. He didn't really do anything in that incident except fall over. We kept our heads, didn't we? It's important in those games not to get drawn into a brawl, isn't it?
Yeah, we've seen so many times scraps develop in games that can change the scale of it and the sort of shape of it. But I'm touching on what you two said there. As you probably know, I was in Legoland yesterday, and you mentioned it being nervy. It wasn't half as nervy as being in Legoland with no signal trying to follow a bloody game of football. That's the definition of nervy. Following on your thread was a nightmare. I've since had a chance to sort of look back at it and digest it a little bit and make a few observations. I think it's going to be nervy. Things are going to be nervy at this time of year. Parker's said it himself, hasn't he? It's not now about the performances. It's not now about the 4-0s and the 5-0s that you might want. It's all about scrapping and getting over the line. Leeds are doing it, and Sheffield United are trying to do it, and the odd goal wins here and there are becoming more and more prevalent, I think. But it seems to me like we always, when we go ahead in a game, we always have that element of control. But what really impressed me was the fact we've now done it twice in 3 away games away from home, coming from behind. Coventry to an early goal, Watford to an early goal. And this mentality of this team does not drop. It keeps the level up, it keeps persisting, it keeps calm, it keeps playing the way it does. It believes in the system, and it comes through in the end. And it's another fantastic result. It really set it up. I was praying for one of those two to just cock it up last night and seal the win, really. But it's all there for us Monday now, isn't it? It's all there for us. Just one more big performance. And as Woody said, we haven't conceded 2 all season. Sheffield United, who are woefully out of form, I know they won the other night, but I think we could put a team together from the podcast to beat Cardiff at the minute. I just think it seems in the stars, doesn't it?
It does.
Easy.
I mean,
But
we
yes.
were saying about that trip away that you just, the worst thing you can think of is like a low scoring draw. It seems to be the worst thing you can think of, and even that would be an anticlimax given the circumstances of Monday's game, wouldn't it, Chris? But I know you watched Sheffield United's game against Cardiff. What impressions do you come away against our opponents on Monday, Chris? I know you've watched them a few times this season.
I've said they've been finding their way, much like Burnley have of late, but until this crazy week where they've been inexplicably, I said the other week, performances would lead you to believe that they were getting results where performances hadn't merited them, and it's caught up with them in the end. And that said, Cardiff, I mean, they had old Dowder had a bit of a goal for Cardiff, but he wasn't backed by his teammates, and the manager's become a bit of a laughing stock. He's lost his job today. I saw an interview; it's just laughable, really. The local BBC reporter. What do you have to do in the remaining 3 games to stay up? He's got score more than the opposition. Just how are you going to do that? Well, you tell me. He's like, you're the manager, mate. It was just lamentable, really. You can see. Results aside, you can see why he's lost his job off the back of that. Infuriating the Cardiff fans that I've seen on social media. But I say Sheffield, they've got quality in depth, much like Burnley, much like Leeds, and that's where the 3 of us have been streets apart all season. They can pick any number of systems and formations, and Diaz nicked one last night, and they say they've Campbell. Cannon's yet to get off the mark. He's more than capable. O'Hare, that Company chased a couple of years ago. Harmer, they've got. I mean, that was a lovely little finish, by the way. Harmer, just little nicked it under the goalkeeper to kill their nerves, really. But it's. I mean, 3 draws will do it for Burnley now. Obviously, a win on Monday does it. If we lose and we get 4 points from the last 2 games, but yes, they're not going to. Surely we pick up 4 points from QPR away and Millwall at home. I just can't see, whatever the outcome is against Sheffield, I can't see Burnley not winning promotion. I think it's so it's almost a free hit for Sheffield. They can come out all guns blazing and have a go, and if they get the win, great. But I still think we do the job from there on in anyway.
Coming back to you, Chris, does it feel like now we're on the edge of it that this is like a promotion that's sort of been expected, job done? This is what we should be doing when we're in the Championship. I mean, have we become a bit... I mean, I'm sure it'll still be celebrated, passionately and joyfully on Monday if we beat Sheffield United, but does it feel a bit different to the other ones now that we've gone up and down that many times that it almost feels like, well, this is what you're supposed to do?
It don't feel like that to me. I've got to be honest, I thought, when Vincent left and, the team got stripped, and I think the expectation from outside is, I did an interview on BBC Radio Lancs early in the season, and Alex Neil was out of a job then, and he was in the studio, and he was sort of saying from outside, Burnley have to get promoted, and I was trying to say, listen, I think with what Parker's had to deal with the having the rug pulled under him last week in the window, the Sunderland game, which was almost like picking anyone. You play here, you play right back, you play left back. And it was a bit of a mess. Then similar situation in the cup at Wolves, and then we're rushing in Sarmiento and Anthony and Laurent, and it was what sort of team are we going to have left here now? We don't know. And for him to, I thought we were absolutely tied on top 6, tied on. It was just a case of I didn't feel we'd have enough to finish top 2, and I think we've gone under the radar. I really do think I think everyone's thought Leeds Sheffield, because they've had more days in the top 2 than we have all season. And that's it. We've just kept niggling away at it, and I think this is a promotion. It should it be sealed, and I think it will be, to celebrate as much as the others. I think he's done a remarkable job. Might not have been the most glorious football at times, but with what he had to contend with in August, I think he's been absolutely outstanding.
Valid point. I don't think anyone disagree with that about Scott Parker. Woody, do you feel like watching it in this different way that we do from afar or via television? Do you feel as excited about the prospect of promotion as you have done in previous versions of it?
I think what it is, it's more the fact that we know what's coming. Should we go up? Yeah, it's that, isn't it? And I think if you're just able to take the promotion and this championship season, and even though it's been a bit of a slog at times, I think when we get to sit back once it's been done and we look at all the records and put it into context, it's going to wind up being one hell of an effort. And I think this past few weeks where we've had these three sides basically battling it out all pretty much on, and they're all going to wind up with more than 90 points. That's some effort quietly away, and it's going to wind up being a very, very good promotion. We just know what's round the corner. And that's not the thing that we're going to be looking forward to. And I was reminded,
I saw a tweet earlier on today, and it reminded me exactly how I feel. It was a guy who'd obviously been at home, either watching or listening to the Watford game, and he said, "I'm bouncing round the room when we won." And my missus said, "Thought you didn't want to go up." He said, "I don't, but I want to win every match."
Exactly.
It's a bit like that. I'm a bit confused as to how I want to feel. I'm a bit like that.
But we've seen all that. I saw a tweet from a Watford fan saying, well, you're going straight back down anyway.
Yeah.
I think, well, you invented not being good enough to go up, to come straight back down. I think they've had four relegations from the Premier League, Watford. I think it was Graham Taylor. Was it 99 they went up? I think they beat Bolton in the final. And I think they effectively said, like, we're not going to spend the money. We're going to sort of do it sensibly, because we're probably going to come back down and then we'll be stronger to go again. That sort of idea of going up to come back stronger was Graham Taylor's, essentially. And I'm of that mind, me. I think all these naysayers, are you going to come back down? So what? We'll come back down with 130 million quid in a back sack, and we'll come back and we'll dominate the championship yet again. So here it goes,
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole debate there about parachute payments, isn't there? We can do it on another pod. But like, Daz, you've been on the inside of a team when they're about to clinch promotion on more than one occasion, around the dressing room, talking to the players. What's it like? It must be quite different from the rest of the season, or do they when they talk about taking it one game at a time and it's just another 3 points? Do they succeed in kidding themselves into that?
I think it is a cliche, but it is exactly that. It is.
Is it?
I mean, under Sean particularly, can't speak for Sean, can't speak for Vincent because I haven't worked with those guys, but under Sean, they were never allowed to look too far ahead. I mean, you might have got home at night and they're probably sat there like we are with the permutations, working out the last 6 fixtures and who's going to finish where. But it is one game at a time, and it has to be that. You can only ever focus on the next game because especially at this time of year as well, when you're only just debriefing one game and you're back into the next game. You've hardly any time to sort of prepare for that. Never mind looking at QPR on Saturday. So it's a calm excitement, I think is how I describe it. And you sense it, of course you sense it, and you want it. And I think that's where the nervousness comes from in games, because you know what you want to do, but you're just a little bit like a 10-year-old, a little bit overexcited on Christmas Eve, aren't you? It's there for you. You can grab it. You can always tangible, but you've still got to go out and do it. And most of the time, they've done it. And under this Parker team, I don't see any reason. It almost feels to me like the calmest of all the promotions in terms of how the players are going about it.
Yeah.
So I don't see any problem. I think, like Chris said, and what he touched on, the problem comes when you get up there, and we are a little bit, I saw someone else mention this today, it's a great terminology that we're a little bit homeless in the EFL at the minute, because we're almost too good for the EFL. And we know we're probably not going to be good enough for the Premier League unless we spend ridiculous amounts of money. Now, Dyche didn't do that, and he found a way to do that. But Dyche was actually unique in that respect. I think we're going to have to spend money again. But let's get there first. I think that, as touching on your question, like a calm excitement is how I describe it, Simon. And I don't think the players will get overexcited at all. They'll go out there with one focus in mind on Monday, and that'll be win that game, and then all hell can let loose.
But I've always thought that, like, when you hear it, and I'm not so cynical that I don't think that they really can block things out and take it one game at a time. I'm sure that that's a sensible way, and they're drilled to be like that. But then when you step out on the field, the atmosphere in these games is completely... Monday's going to be different from any other game this season, leaving aside, the presence or otherwise of certain garments that may be lifted in the stand or not. But the atmosphere is going to be different, isn't it? It's like you train your mind. Just another game. We go out, we play well against Sheffield United, do the job, then we'll celebrate. But you go out and there's something a bit different. Chris, no, the mood in a stadium is...
Yeah, because you get that. There will be a tension among the fans, won't there? They get, they'll feel the highs and lows, even if the players are trying to be on an even keel, sort of thing. And it's a strange one because of the points difference. I'd say Sheffield can have a bit of a, if they lose, so be it. They weren't expected to overcome this deficit, but can they relax and play the normal way? But the hardest thing at this time of year is everyone's sort of eking out wins, just finding a way to get over the line at this stage of the season. That's you know the drill, but having the quality to win games, great. We've got the quality. We've got the mentality. You just got to find a way in each individual game to get yourself there. We've shown that. So I say, come hell or high water, I think we're going to get promoted. Ideally, it's in glorious style on Monday night, and we send them packing and get the points. But if not, we just go and finish the job.
Yeah, I mean, we've had campaigns like that, haven't we? Back in the third division days, we were having. I think we had about 3 about to win promotion nights that turned into rather anticlimactic ones, but we got there in the end. Woody, when you've got a game like this after this season, and we've had a fairly solid core of players playing in every game, but this is now the time when Parker has to look at his squad. As far as we know, there's no sort of injuries come out of that Watford game, as far as I've seen. Are you going same team again, or are there some tweaks you'd make against Sheffield United?
Oh, Lord.
All right, well, I'm going to chuck one in then.
Yes.
I would be very tempted to bring Josh Laurent back into the starting lineup, probably at the expense of Hannibal.
I think the way the game panned out against Watford, in a way they kind of did us a favour. The fact that we were able to spend the last 20 minutes strolling about conserved a little bit more energy than had we been charging around like lunatics having to chase a game, so that may play into it. But I thought Hannibal was pretty much anonymous, especially for the first half. And it's a weird one. He struggles sometimes, especially against sides that are a little bit more in his face to get involved. And I can imagine that against Sheffield United, they've got to come at us. They've got no other choice, have they? So I maybe I would bring in Laurent. I think there'll be one. I think Fleming plays, obviously. 2 wide men aren't going to be changed. The back 4 is not going to change. So I think there's only really one change that could be made, and that's Laurent.
Would you do it, Daz? Would you do it?
I would definitely do that. I think 2 reasons. I think if we have an emotional character in our team, it's Hannibal, and it's going to be an emotive, passionate, probably incident-fueled game. They probably want it to be a bit of a scrap, Sheffield United. They're that kind of side as well, aren't they? So in that sense, yeah, I'd be tempted to take Hannibal out the firing line, and Josh Laurent provides a bit of a better shield there. And you get Josh Brownhill, who finds a goal. You get him further forward in that lineup again. We've hit on that settled side, haven't we? And that's been the only real flip-flop, hasn't it? Apart from Foster and Fleming, between Laurent and Hannibal's been the only flip-flop. I think it's a good call, Sam. I do. I think Laurent's a calm presence in there, and he's a physical person as well. He's a bit more, probably more physical than Hannibal. Yeah, I would go with that. And just to go about what Chris said, I think, yes, it's a free hit for Sheffield United, but I think it's last chance saloon for them as well. So they will be nervy because they'll know that they have to win that game. So although it's a free hit for them, I do think they'll be really on edge, and they're not in form either. So I think that plays a little bit more into our hands as well with our calm passing game. That should hopefully frustrate them even more. And Ben Brereton Diaz is going to get a welcome in it, so that'll be another bonus.
But you did point out, Chris, yesterday, a statistic that we haven't lost a game that Hannibal has started.
I say he had to start at Watford just based on his performance against Norwich. That's one of those. If you're leaving him out on the back of that, it's incredibly harsh. But yeah, I'd have to agree. You're sort of tempted to sort of throw him in because of the way he presses and this, that, and the other. But I'd like to see Laurent in just for his physical stature, And it says just free Brownie up, go and get that 15th goal of the season, and just cap things off, get the promotion he wants, 15 goals, and we'll wait and see if he signs that contract or not.
We haven't lost many. Well, any of these lads have started, by the way.
To be fair,
that is true.
It is a weird stat, isn't it? Zian Fleming does not know what it's like to lose for Burnley.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, isn't it, when you think about it? But, yeah, I mean, I think Laurent just brings a bit of that sort of experience and nous, and it's less his sort of physical presence or what he does on the ball and more what's in his head, I think. That experience and that ability to just, he reminds me a bit of what we perhaps hoped Stephen Reid was going to be. If he'd have been a year or two earlier when he'd come to Burnley or something like that. Just that little bit of calm it down, get the challenge in, slow the game down when it needs to be done. When you've got the option with Hannibal, that if it's not going well, you bring him on and he can get the crowd going and he can add that extra energy. And he's a hell of a player to be bringing on from the bench, isn't he? But there's nothing else to change, is there? There really isn't anything else, which is testimony to a good season, really, isn't it? I think. Yeah. Leeds United, Chris. We're also, we're not focused on this really because promotion's right in front of us, but there is a title to play for as well, isn't there?
Exactly, yeah. They're ahead of us on goal difference alone, so it's a shootout, isn't it? They're probably screaming out for a draw on Monday night. It's probably the best result from their perspective, but promotion's the goal, and if we can top it off with a third consecutive title at this level, that would be something to be proud about, wouldn't it? That would be really put the cherry on top, and that's it. It's there to be taken, isn't it? Let's try and be perfect, try and end the season with 3 wins, and can Leeds match it?
Yeah. Does it matter to you, Woody, whether we win the title or not?
Like Chris says, it'd be a nice little cherry. I'd like it. To be fair, I would like. Yeah, I'd like to go up as champions. Yeah,
I think it does make a difference.
Yeah, it makes. Really. I think it does. Yeah.
We're not going to think about Premier League yet. I think that's the topic definitely for another day. What might happen after this season, because there's a lot of permutations there, isn't there? But
second's nowhere for my lad. My 11-year-old. Sorry, he's like second's like first loser. It's all or nothing to him. I want to win the league. Don't worry about.
Sounds like Piers Morgan.
He's a little less argumentative.
I mean, I think a few weeks ago we'd have bitten anybody's hand off at second, but now we're second, or where we are, it's like, you want to go up as champions. We're greedy buggers, and we deserve it.
Either mean, if we go up, last 4 seasons at this level would have been second, champions, second. But if you make it three titles on the spin, that is. Other than the first division in old money, Huddersfield Town and Liverpool, and winning 3, football league titles on the spin. Has anyone done it at this level? In terms of the last 3 seasons at that level. I'd have to get the historians on the case.
Let me have a look.
Maybe we'll touch on that one in our next episode. when we look back on what is hopefully a glorious Easter Monday. Easter Sunday between them, I don't know. What's anyone walking up Pendle Hill or any? What do you do over your
not
side?
Me, Simon. No,
Eh?
not me.
No, me neither, unfortunately. I think I've got about 800 miles until there is a hill from where I am.
I'm not even planning on walking up the stairs tomorrow.
I like a bit of a pen. It is quite nice when you go up Pendle Hill, and there's a lot of families go up there over Easter, don't they? But not you, Chris.
I can't cope with the height. Can't. Genuinely, I've got that sort of. I've never had an issue with heights in my life, and I get to be me elder years now, and it's can't cope.
Yeah, no, I have a friend who's genuinely scared of heights. I used to live on the 16th floor of a place in Miami, and he couldn't come in my house. He was that scared of it. And he came to visit once, and I took him up Pendle Hill, and he was like puking up halfway up that. The diagonal one. It's a toughie, but
is this a metaphor for the hill that we've climbed? Is this what it is?
Exactly. Should have
anyway,
taken him up,
brilliant.
Nick, Simon. Yeah.
Whatever you're doing on over the Easter, have a good one and enjoy Monday. We'll be back with you after that game to try and make sense of it all. Thanks very much. Have an happy Easter and up the Clarets.